His name's Mephistoespheles. He knows lots of ghost stories. He's a haunted, satanic sock.
Hello, boys and girls. Are you ready for story time with me, Mephistoespheles? Good. Today I want to tell you about the eerie history of Cheesman Park in Denver, Colorado. It may have a funny name, but this is where lots of kids come to be outside, play on swings, and have a good time. When Denver was brand new, though, it wasn't a park at all. Back then it was called Prospect Hill Cemetery, and lots of people were put under the ground here so they could sleep forever and ever. That is until 1890, when everybody thought about it and decided that this would be a better park than a graveyard. So a man named Mr. McGovern was hired to move the sleeping people. Soon after he started opening the graves of Prospect Hill, there was a horrible mining accident, and all the grown-up sized coffins had to be used to bury the victims. This meant that the only thing Mr. McGovern had to put all the sleeping people in were little children's caskets. Now everybody knows that you can't fit a whole mommy-sized body or daddy-sized body into a kid-sized coffin. So at each grave, Mr. McGovern had to take his machete, and with a thwack, off came the legs, and into coffin number 1 they'd go. Then he'd take his shovel, and clickety-clack, a hodgepodge of rib bones and vertebrae would fall into coffin number 2. Last, but not least, he'd plop the skull into coffin number 3, where it would roll around like a grape. When everybody found out what Mr. McGovern had been doing, they got very mad and made him stop at once. But there were still lots and lots of people who were under the ground at the new park, and they became very unhappy and angry too. One day, a man who had been helping Mr. McGovern decided to take something from one of these people. When he tucked the stolen object into his pocket, he felt icy cold hands grab him by the shoulders. He turned to look, but no one was there. This made the man very frightened, so he threw down the thing he had taken and left the cemetery as fast as his legs could carry him. Then thin, filmy likenesses of the people who were sleeping began to appear around the park. They'd glide across the fields to the nearby houses, where they'd tap on the windows and knock on the doors. Some of the houses were built on top of these sleeping people's resting places, and those who lived in them would see the sleeping people standing in the corners of the rooms at night, holding their unattached heads in front of them, which would moan, wail, and scream the most terrible screams. They'd make the lights flicker, bang on the walls, and cause an awful racket. One of the residents at Cheesman Park made a movie about what happened at his house and called it The Changeling. Another person heard about what happened here and made a movie called Poltergeist, and run-ins with these sleeping people continue to this day. So if you go to play in Cheesman Park, tread lightly, my friend. You never know who you might wake up.